Biliyor musun? Erken rezervasyon başladı. Yazın en renkli fırsatları cyprusparadise.com'da. %40, %50 hatta %60'a varan kaçırılmaz indirimler. Erken rezervasyon yap, uçak bileti fiyatına paket tatili al. Uygun fiyata Kıbrıs tatilinin adresi cyprusparadise.com. Zaman akıp gitmeden acele edin. Bir bakmışsınız yaz gelmiş. Cyprus Paradise. Tatiliniz bizimle güvende.
Kalitenin, güvenin, hızlı teslimatın adresi Ancon Furniture. Ancon Furniture ailesi olarak yeni ürünler ile hizmete devam etmekteyiz. Yeni model koltuk takımlarımız, yatak mekanizmaları bir dokunuş ile açılıp bir dokunuş ile kapanabilmektedir. Bir dokunuş ile açtığımız yatak mekanizmasının yatak çarşafı kullanıma hazır, serili olarak içinden çıkmaktadır. Yıl sonuna kadar herhangi bir koltuk takımı alan her müşterimize akıllı sehpa hediyemizdir. En iyi ürün, en iyi fiyat. Sadece Ancon Furniture'da. Bize uğramadan karar vermeyin. En iyisini biz yapana kadar daha iyisi yok.
Hello everyone, welcome to Eurogenç TV's second Daudi special programs dealing with grief. In particular, how sections of our communities are dealing with the loss of loved ones due to COVID-19. You saw in the beginning of the film strip that as a community, we have lost disproportionately a very high number of people succumb to this horrible virus. And in the last week's program, we spoke about the loss of loved ones and how men are dealing with grief. It was a very difficult program, very heart-wrenching program. We heard the story of Erkan, and we spoke to him about his feelings, how he's been coping. And today's program is about how young people have been dealing with the effects of COVID and the effects of losing loved ones with grief. These two programs have been supported by the wonderful Ubele Initiative and Stream. We have not one, but two wonderful representatives from these organizations here tonight. Can I introduce my guests to you? Hello, everyone. Hello. Hello, Yansie. Hello, Kaz. And hello, Tashini. Welcome to the program. I hope you are okay.
Yes.
Good. What I'd like you to do very briefly, to introduce yourselves first, and then we'll go into asking you some questions, and we'll kick off. Can I start with Yansie?
Certainly.
Yeah, go on.
Hi, so I'm Yansie Rolston, and I am from the Ubele Initiative, but I'm also the program lead for Stream and one of the champions of the Majonzi Fund. My specialist area of work is mental health and disabilities, particularly looking at it from a culturally competent perspective to see, to ensure, that services look at the issues from the person's country of origin, from their culture, taking account of their rites and rituals.
Great. Thanks, Yansie. Tashini.
Hello, hi. I work alongside Yansie and I work with some of the initiatives that she does. But my strong points are also mental health, disability, and working with young people, especially around what's been going on in the last year. I've been doing a lot more work with youngsters regarding COVID and loss, not grief just only with people, but in other parts of their lives too, and how they're handling it.
Yeah. You are being modest. You are also a very popular DJ.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Yeah, I am. Can't wire anything together at the moment. We won't go there today.
No. Okay. Hi, Kaz. Can you introduce yourself?
Yeah, my name's Kaz Foncette, and I am the founder of a charity called Wigs for Heroes. I survived breast cancer myself on 2 occasions in the last 4 years, and set up an organisation to support other people going through cancer treatment at the North Middlesex Hospital. At the moment, we're focusing on that particular area as that was the hospital that helped me. And it's my local hospital. And because of the lack of cancer services in the Haringey borough, my focus is to really support people that need the support, whether it be in person or online. So yeah, that's me.
Yeah, if I may say so, Kaz, you are one of the most inspirational young people in our community that I know of. No, honestly, I'm not just saying that. You are so wonderful, and you've been doing a lot of work. You documented your fight with cancer. You made a film which was shown at our festival last year.
Yeah.
And you've been great.
It was my final treatment day that I documented, because I had sort of story told on Instagram every single day throughout my treatment, days in the chemo unit, days in radiotherapy, on my off days from treatment. And I thought it would be good to film my last day of treatment. This was the first time with cancer. It was a big moment for me, and a big moment for my family in particular, because once again in our Cypriot community we always hear the stories of people dying and not enough survival stories, so it was really important to highlight that.
Yes, and there were about 15 members of your family who attended the hospital that day with you.
I think it was less
And
than 15
is it
because we
less?
couldn't. Yeah, it was less than 15. I mean, I would have liked to have had more people there, but you know, it's really difficult to arrange things when you're very forgetful through chemo, and you're tired. You know, you don't always want people to see you in that state. I mean, I wasn't in such a bad state, but it was a moment, and I wanted it to be intimate. So the fewer people, the better, to be honest. So as long as my mum and dad were there, that was the main thing.
Yeah. Yes, you beat cancer, and then you started getting involved in the community. We had a couple of discussions about racism and the community as well. And then you started working for the TCCA as a befriending project coordinator, didn't you?
Yeah,
And then,
I had some time, so I thought I'd help them because my office, my charity office, is based inside the TCCA building, and I saw the hard work that they do, and you know, are still doing now, and I wanted to be involved somehow, and I've got you know, experience in working with senior care, so I wanted to sort of share some of my background and expertise with them in some way. But obviously I lost my mum and my nan to COVID, and I had to sort of take a step back, but they've got a great team there who are still working to support people. So
I mean, to lose two of the most sort of influential people in your life, to say that it was difficult is a huge, obviously it's a bit silly to say it was very difficult. It must have been catastrophic. And I wonder if you can tell us about the circumstances around there.
So I lost both my mum and my nan on the same night. They died of COVID an hour apart from each other. So it was a bit like a Turkish dizi. It was unbelievable. It was dramatic, you know. But all jokes aside, it was probably the most traumatic experience of my life. I didn't know who to cry for in that moment. You know, I had a phone call to say your nan just died and your mum's basically dying. So I found it really difficult to process that information that night. It was just the worst night of my life, honestly. And you know, my nan was shielding for a long time, and my mum was still going to work. She was a key worker, and she worked in a factory. And you know, we begged her so many times to stay at home because she had diabetes. She was 60. But my mum, being the type of person that she was, she just wanted to still support, you know, the company that she worked for. She still needed to go out to work to, you know, support her family and bills, and you know, and she had that obligation. So she carried on going to work, and she probably picked it up from work, and she cared for my nan as well. So we think that she passed it on to my nan. And on the same day they were admitted, and my mum just, you know, within days, you know, she got a positive result on a Monday, and she was hospitalized on a Tuesday morning and put on oxygen on Tuesday. Her heart actually stopped en route to the hospital. They had to resuscitate her, I think. And the same day she was admitted, and my nan, they were both admitted on a Tuesday morning, afternoon time, and they both passed away on a Tuesday evening. So we didn't have any time at all to prepare for what was to come, to say goodbye. It was horrible.
Yeah, of course it was. Tell us about them, Kaz. What were they like? What was your mom and grandmom like?
I'll start with my nan. My nan was such a quiet lady and very forgiving in nature. She was always worried about something. She had that worried expression on her face all the time. You know, she had a few issues with her health, but she was just, you know, she was just Nene. She was just my grandmother. You know, you'd go to her when you fancied a particular dish, you know, and just the warmth. Such a warm lady, you know. You just wanted to hug her all the time. And my mum was the life and soul of a party. She was a little lady. There she is. She was a little lady, you know, always cooking and bringing food, and everyone loved her. She's you know, very missed by her work family, and she a bit of a loudmouth like me. She taught me how to fight and be strong and not let people, you know, knock you down. She went through the war in Cyprus as a little girl, so her childhood was snatched away from her to some degree. So she grew up very quickly, and she taught us all how to be responsible from a really young age. And she lived for her family. She lived and breathed for us.
Yeah, a lot of us who have lost loved ones, and I lost my sister last November, we feel mixed emotions, don't we? Anger, guilt,
Oh yeah,
deep sorrow, obviously, regret, and many, many more feelings. How dominant with you is the feeling of anger, especially?
Oh yeah, I was angry. I'm still angry now. When I talk about her to people, and you know, we get back to the root of her being at work, it makes me so angry. It makes me really upset that I feel like she wasn't cared enough about at work. She wasn't looked after. She couldn't read or write really in English, so I feel like there's a lot of explaining to do. There's a lot of answers that I need. I still feel like that now. It's hard. It's hard.
Of course,
but, I mean, I'm not. Yeah. I'm angry that she's gone so soon.
Yeah, definitely.
We still had a lot to do. We still had a lot to do as a family.
Yeah, of course.
You know, as we didn't have that final holiday after I beat cancer, so I was really looking forward to just having a holiday with my family. And lots of shouldas, couldas, wouldas, you know, like they say. It's very difficult.
Yeah. Yansie, last week, Patrick was explaining that your organization is involved in asking all these questions about the treatment of people in hospitals and workplaces, the fact that so many from the BAME communities have succumbed to this. Why was it that so many of our people died of this virus? And he was explaining that all these questions are being asked of the government, of the health authorities, and so on. Is there a kind of timetable for this? What should people do if people have any real issues with the way their loved ones have been treated by hospitals, especially, and the workplaces? What's happening with that regard?
Earlier on, maybe beginning of summer last year, Manchester University was commissioned by the GLA to undertake some research into the inequalities due to COVID-19. And as Ubele Initiative is a Black, Asian, and minoritized organization, we were involved in that, looking at it from the BAME, that horrible word, perspective. So we were looking at it across all the protected characteristics. So maternity, LGBTQIA, homelessness, all the protected characteristics, to come up with some sort of answers as to why particular communities were being disproportionately succumbing. The report was finalized and some recommendations were made, which were sent through to the mayor's office. And those are being worked on. But in addition to that, Ubele Initiative also started a campaign called We Need Answers, because we need answers. We still need answers. It's a year on and we still need answers. And the whole idea is that we want to hold the government to account. We know from doing some of the research, and I was one of the people who was doing research on the ground, that there are people in our community who ought not to have died, full stop. You know, they were discriminated against for whatever reason. There are lots of horror stories out there, and people feel that they can't tell their story because they may face another form of discrimination. But people need to have their voices heard. Thank you, Kaz. First to say my condolences to you and your family, but thank you for being a young voice. Thank you for using that voice and saying exactly how you feel, because people need to say how they're feeling. Out of the research that was done, we also commissioned another piece of research to see what services were being offered to Black and Asian and minoritized communities to deal with the knock-on effect. How are they coping with their mental health? And out of that, BAME Stream was born. And I know you had Patrick on last week, and he might have told you about BAME Stream. But that's why, because we need the answers. But while we're waiting for the answers, we need the support. We need the support of community. We need to come together and do what we can to help each other, but bearing in mind that we still need those answers.
Absolutely. Can I ask you, Kaz, obviously you've been very brave and you've been talking about your feelings. You've been interviewed by the BBC, by the ITV, and so on, by Metro newspaper and maybe other publications I haven't seen. So you've been very outspoken and talking about your feelings, but how have you sort of coped with this horrible tragedy in terms of within your family, your dad and yourself, I don't know if you have brothers and sisters. How did you cope as a family? How are you coping?
It's really difficult. I'm very much a social butterfly. So to be restricted firstly in not seeing people face to face and not having that hug, that hug that you need, at a funeral, the graveside, I didn't get that hug, the normal human interactions that you need when someone passes away, that was all removed. It still feels completely surreal that all of this has happened, but because of the lack of not seeing people, the lack of no physical contact with anyone, it's really been challenging. I'm not gonna lie. That's probably been the hardest part. As a Turkish Cypriot woman, from when you're a kid, you have these rituals of when a person dies, from the very day that they die. You gather at that person's house, you hold each other, you share stories about that person, you remember them, and you want to do things to keep their memory alive. And we haven't been able to do any of that. The rituals from after the burial, we haven't been able to do any of our traditional gatherings. So yeah, that's been tough. I think because of the illnesses I've faced in the past, and facing the idea of death and really questioning life and who I am as a human being and my impact in my community and on the world and people around me. It's for the last 4 years I've been fighting to sort of establish my charity so that when I do go one day, because I know I'm on a limited time, the same as everybody else, we don't know when we're going to go. I want to make sure that my dealings are all in place, because we don't know when our time will come. And so, I'm even restricted now in what I'm trying to do after cancer, i.e. living my life. So there's been so many problems that I've been unable to solve alone that I thought that I could. I stepped into the role very quickly of almost becoming the new head of the family. We both, we lost both our matriarchs in a way. So that responsibility has now been handed over to me, to look after all the boys. I don't have any sisters. I've got 3 brothers. I've got my uncles, my dad. It's, my nan and my mum didn't leave us a scrap of recipe ideas. So it's like I'm trying to rediscover my culture through, the amazing people in my community and our recipes, and really try and teach my family and cook these dishes now on a regular basis. I'm doing my best to grieve in a way that I never expected to. So, the beautiful thing about being a human being is when you're thrown into a situation, you really do learn how to adapt to it and to survive it. The same as when I was thrown into the breast cancer at a very early age of 31. I just turned 31 and I got given a breast cancer diagnosis. I learned how to cope with it. I learned how to survive because of that natural human instinct that we all carry. So I suppose even though it's still hard now, I'm not saying like I've adapted very quickly, but I've had to learn to adapt to certain things. But even now, like the restriction on seeing my family, I want to see them every day. I wanted to go and stay with my dad, when it all happened, but they all had COVID as well. So not only were we mourning my mum and my nan, I was just petrified that I'd lose my dad as well, or my brothers. Thankfully, they're okay. But it's just still really difficult because I don't have women here in my family. Most of them are in Cyprus. I don't have the women to just gather with and have a little cry. And, in front of the boys, I kind of try and maintain my strength and not cry so much in front of them, because I need to stand. I know crying's normal and we need to express emotion, but from when you're a little kid, you just don't want to cry in front of the boys, and you want to be strong for your dad, and that's why I'm trying to be strong for my dad. So
it might do them good as well, because men
we do well up.
Yeah.
And my dad wells up. My dad isn't afraid of expressing emotion. Neither are my brothers. We had this beautiful, tragic moment of all saying goodbye to my mum on a FaceTime call. The doctors managed to connect the call to us so we could say goodbye to her, even though she wasn't awake. And I was like, tell mum you love her, I was tell mum you love her, just tell her you love her. And they was expressing their emotions, and I'm glad that I was there to probe them in a way and encourage them to express their feelings. And I love my family, and I just want them to be able to express where they can, but I don't want to always be the one to break down and cry.
And also because you've been so active within the community, you've helped so many people, and you've been involved in a lot of projects apart from your cancer project, and that might have helped, do you think, in sort of your coping?
Distraction is a fabulous thing. But again, with lockdown, there's only so much you can do. You know, you're very restricted on, you can't go to the shops to, you know, buy yourself a new dress, try something on, walk around, have a bit of lunch, meet a friend, you know, things that you do to support your own well-being and your mental health. And I found myself asking my husband, did my mum die a lot? I was asking that every night because I just would wake up and it's like it didn't happen. And because of the whole situation, the surreal situation of shielding and lockdown and my mum and nan dying, and it just, nothing felt real. So sometimes I still ask him, like, did my mum actually die? Because I still feel like there's a lot of unresolved grieving that is going to catch up on me later. It's just,
I mean, Yansie maybe can tell us about BAME Stream's grieving project, in conjunction with Nafsiyat. You organize grieving for people from different communities. Perhaps you can explain that, Yansie?
So certainly. So BAME Stream is really an alliance of organizations that work around mental health, grief, loss, and bereavement. And we've commissioned Nafsiyat to offer 3 free sessions of support to anyone who's struggling with grief, loss, and bereavement. So anyone over the age of 18 onwards could get 3 free sessions. And in Nafsiyat, the therapists and counselors are able to offer support in 20 different languages. So whatever your mother tongue, you are sure to get some support in that language. But additionally to that, there are also the grief cafes that have been happening. So there was one that was organized by the British Psychological Association. That was a very small, I say small, there were about 60 people there, but there were 4 separate rooms that you could go in with a counselor, a therapist, and just have a chat. One of our colleagues, Maureen, has organized what she's calling the kitchen table. So you just drop in virtually, have a chat, talk about what's going on for you. I know Tasha's been supporting us in some of our other expressions and support around grief, loss, and bereavement.
That's amazing.
Kaz, I've had my 3rd session today, and I would highly recommend it. So think about doing
definitely.
that.
Definitely, yeah. I think, like you said before, with the distraction, you know, even when I had cancer, like my distraction was helping other people, and you feel good about doing so, and but jumping back into supporting others, because there's as much as it is hard losing a mother, 2 mothers. You know, they are no longer suffering. It's us that's suffering, and you know, I need to do what I need to do to make myself feel better, and usually that comes in the form of helping other people, feeding people. And I do need to, I have sort of adjusted my working sort of days, and days that I just stay in my pajamas all day and give myself that time to just do nothing and be still and think about what's happened and really try and process it. But it will be great to join one of those for sure.
Definitely. I say that to Hussein Hoja and Egg as well, because they've been at the receiving end of all these things. Hussein Hoja, Yansie and Tanisha they are the people who have been. Hussein Hoja is the Imam in the Muslim religion. He officiates over the funerals and so on. And Egg is funeral director.
And he runs the mosque.
The mosque. They've been wonderful. They've been so brilliant with the community. Fantastic. But they also need help. As I said in my little talk at that event you organized, Yansie, So everyone needs help in not overcoming. You can never overcome these feelings, but everyone needs help.
This is going to affect people for a very long time. It's like the effects of war, you know. And there's even been like a memorial wall now put up in London with all the hearts.
Yeah.
And they're saying that that's going to be a permanent memorial wall. So it's like the level of war, you know, the amount of people that we've lost, the memorial things that are being put up, you know. This is going to be a reminder for us all the time. And, you know, us families who have lost people to COVID, whenever we hear that word, you know, we're just going to think who has died. We're not going to think, oh, that time that we were doing TikTok videos, you know, all year. We're going to think of the mothers that we've lost, the sons and daughters, that hellish time that, you know, we've now lost a member of our families. It's just going to be, we're never going to forget this. It's going to be very hard to get over, because it's not normal circumstances. It could have been controlled, and I think that's where the anger will carry on, you know, just like the anger of war, you know, that people hold for a long time, and, you know, they can't process and let go of it. That is it's very similar.
Yeah, absolutely. Tashini, let me come to you and tell us about how you have been yourself helping young people. Obviously, young people have suffered losses, but it's not just grieving. They've lost basically, some of them might have lost their future. So how have you been sort of helping them to come to terms with that, to develop some sort of strategies to deal with those kind of losses? Some children have lost a very important year of their education for not being able to do their GCSEs. Some children from transferring to junior to secondary school and so on. So they've suffered a lot. I think young people are the main group of people who have lost a lot more than anyone else. What do you think? How do you yourself cope with it, and how do you help young people to cope with this?
Right, first of all, let me say to Kaz, listening to what you said, one of the things that you talked about, that I've talked about in recent groups, is the rituals, and not being able to do those, because again, in the Caribbean culture, we have a lot of rituals surrounding deaths and funerals and stuff, and it's hard because I've lost several relatives, and to me, I still can't process that they're not here any longer, because I didn't attend a funeral and go through all those rituals. So I can understand in a way when you turn around and you say that sometimes it doesn't seem real to you. And I do understand that. Now let's talk about education. Now I've spoken to several young people from school age right up into university age about how they're coping with, and they've described it to me as a loss of their education. I have a niece who's 15, so she's in her GCSE year. Now, she's a very bright child, and she was supposed to have gone to, and she was offered the place at university at 14. Now she's grieving like hell because she's found that she's not able to sit her GCSEs in the way she should do. She's telling me over this weekend that some of the, where she'd normally sit the exams, which is where she's very sharp, they're looking at other elements to try and give them these passes. And is so fearful, especially after last year, that they're going to undermark her. And then then limits her choices. Because she's quite happy saying, yes, at the minute, her GCSEs will go ahead, but we don't know what's going to happen down the road in the next few months. And I've seen this, in tears, crying, not eating, stressing, because she is so worried that what's happened in the last year. is going to permanently affect her, because she's going to have all the GSEs, CSEs she should have had, because not all of them are being sat. You know, she's not going to get the grades. She may not get the grades she expected to get again, because she may not sit all of the exams. And it comes down to somebody else deciding, oh, well, she might have got this and she might have got that. And we know from last year about the inequalities that happened. You know, for children that came from certain areas, you know, especially I'm from Haringey, like Kaz. And we know it's a postcode thing, where the children are being downgraded simply because of where they live and what their expectations are. Yes, exactly. And that's not fair. And on the other hand, I have a son who is at university. Now, this whole of his last year, he's not been into university at all. On top of that, he contracted COVID. So that knocked him back even more. You know, and he's doing a medical kind of degree, and these degrees demand that you take practicals, and no provision made. So again, you spent the whole of this year worrying about, is he going to do well enough, because he's not had the teaching that he should have got, that they've paid this big old £9,000 a year for. He's not getting the support he needs. You know, and I've had his friends tend to come to me and want to talk to me, because I seem to be able to talk sense. I don't know how. But anyway, we talk, and they're all saying the same thing. They don't think they're going to get a fair chance at sitting their exams and getting the work and the grades they should have got, simply because some establishments don't know what's going on. They're sort of doing things by the fly. So they're thinking about them as they're going on. So there's no structure. You know, things are not being put in place for them as they should do. And again, he's from another group that feels that they may not get the grades they need to progress on to where they need to go, simply because they don't feel the establishments have done the background work for them and got things ready. I mean, last year, the last sort of academic year, obviously half of that went missing because of COVID. Now, with the following year that was coming up, especially at university level, they should have had some sort of put provisions in place. We've got technology galore here now, so everything is here. As long as you've got an internet connection, things can happen, but they just weren't prepared for it. And as a result, these young people are now in a position where they're struggling. They're struggling because they don't, you know, they usually have peer support groups when they're studying. They can't meet their friends to discuss their studies and sit down and do it together. They can't do the other things that kind of relax their mind. They can't go out and socialize.
Social interaction is just so important.
Definitely. And I find that these youngsters have no idea how to deal with that, because all their life they've been able to do what they want when they want. And they're in a position here where they just cannot function without social interaction, like we said. And that is playing havoc on their mental health. You know, for people my age, it's hard work. For the youngsters, it's almost impossible for them. It's something they could never have envisaged in a million years. I mean, as an elder person, some of the things I can relate to, because we heard it coming from people that took part in the war, and some of the things that happened going down. These children of today are, in that kind of respect, they're kind of clueless. And as a result, you know, their mental health is suffering. And once COVID is under control, I think that we're going to see for years to come a real knock-on effect of what the last year and a half, maybe 2 years had. You know, it's going to manifest itself going through. You know, you've got younger children who may come through it okay. There will be some who are going to suffer. I spoke to a young boy, and he was bullied at school. And for him, lockdown has been an absolute pleasure, because he has been away from bullies. For him, that his mental health has improved.
Wow.
Because he's been away from the bullies. He doesn't have all those social media platforms. So it doesn't get to him any other way.
Oh, bless.
So for him, it has been a godsend, because he has been able to escape his bullies. To the point now he's in his last year at school, and he said he's probably not going to go back. He's had this peace of mind for so long, and he wants to keep it like that. He doesn't want to have to go back to what he had to put up with before.
And then you get the other end of the spectrum where you've got children who used to want to escape the realities of their houses and homes to go to school to get away from all of that. So it's like so many things that even as adults, like you see little kids now walking around the park and you're like, bloody hell, like they can't even, like, they've lost a year of social interaction, which is character building, which helps them develop. They've lost that whole year with just doing that as well.
Yeah. And you'll find that the children, you know, what will the knock-on effects be? Will there be services in place to give these children support to get over this? Because I think, you know, right now people are saying, well, maybe, maybe not. But from previous experience of dealing with people with mental health issues, who've had to put up with a lot less than what's been going on this last year, the service is very much needed. And it's something that, you know, it has to go to government level. Otherwise, we're going to lose a whole generation.
Well, the government is responsible. Again, like with my mum, like I don't think the government has put, well, I don't know now, but enough guidelines for businesses in how to protect their staff. It always sort of will fall back onto the government in some way, shape or form, because they set the tone for, you know, legislative things and guidelines, and, you know, businesses are afraid and, you know, they don't know what to do. Probably establishments, educational establishments, they didn't get probably hardly anything as well, which is a worry.
I mean, judging by the way the education minister handled the situation last year regarding the exams, I couldn't be very optimistic about the way they will be helping young people in the future, to be honest. Unfortunately, you can't help feeling quite disheartened and pessimistic about the whole situation.
Very much so. What my niece was saying, you know, last year really frightened her because she knew that this year it was her turn. And just the mess they made of the whole the whole exam debacle has really frightened her, because she doesn't want to go through that. I think that will break her if that happens to her. I break a lot of kids like that, who are bright, intelligent children who deserve a chance. They were heading in the right direction until COVID knocked the whole thing back. You know?
I can add a bit of optimism to the conversation by saying, as a community, we have come together as a village, because there's so many organizations outside in the communities now that are putting money and resources into supporting the mental health of young people. So we've been very fortunate. We've got a bit of funding to get young people to develop some tools that can be used by teachers and mentors and youth workers to support their mental health. Another organization came to us and said, you know, we're willing to fund you if you could work with some young people so that they're making podcasts and videos and webinars talking about their mental health. So, and also I'm a trustee of an organization called Future Men, and we work with boys and men to shape them into what they call the 7 characteristics of manhood. And in that organization, there's so much willingness and support to help young people who are struggling. So some of our young people in the schools have been struggling, but there are others who are thriving during this time of COVID, some of whom are young fathers. So we've got a young fathers program for teen fathers. And that has been able to continue because organizations have put funding, put their money where their mouth is, really, to support work continuing. So, you know, there's a ray of sunshine based on our love for community, our whole concept of it takes a village. So while the government are doing the shenanigans and they have a 5-year recovery plan, they reckon,
Yeah.
We leave that out there.
Right.
The community is mobilizing and saying, we're not going to wait for you in your 5-year plan, whatever that could be. And if it's anything like that race report, okay.
Yeah.
So the community is saying, let us do what we can. And there are lots of people like Kaz coming together, stepping up to the plate and saying, each one help one. So there's a ray of sunshine, I suppose, a little bit of hope. We're not going to be able to capture all. Some young people are really struggling. We know that there's an online platform called Shout, where you can text if you need any mental health support. And they had something like 250,000 texters as of 2 months ago. People are really struggling. But people are also coming together as community and saying, what can we do? I mean, Ertanc, you said that Tash was underselling herself. She really is.
Yes.
She's been stepping up in community.
I know she is. Yeah. I know Tash. Three of us worked in Islington in the equalities, and I don't know. Again, not to be too pessimistic. In those days when we worked in Islington in the equalities, things weren't wonderful. But have they really improved today? I don't know. I don't think so.
No,
absolutely not.
No. Absolutely not. But it's up to community. We are the ones that are making the change. We are doing what we can. Unfortunately, we hear more about the failures, but by George, there are so many success stories of community-based organizations that are doing phenomenal work. There are collectives. So in Ubele, we've got a collective of young people called the Emerging Leaders. And they are, let me tell you, Kaz, I think you should hop in and join that space. They do some incredible, genuinely,
if I get to speak to you every week, I'm in.
They go to different countries across Europe, learning knowledge, bringing it back into the space, sharing ideas, developing projects. A couple of days ago, I was invited to do a woman's talk for them. They had a festival, a well-being festival on Zoom. Young people are struggling, but they're a collective of young people who are really trying to leave a mark. And I think there's a point where even us as elders need to look back, look at the youth and learn, because we have destroyed society for them. A lot of us have, not me personally, but a lot of us have destroyed society for them. We need to look back to see what they're doing and support them.
Yeah, definitely. I think we see it in our community, don't we, Kaz, that one of the most positive things from this COVID has been how the communities came together and helped each other, helped people, all the elderly who couldn't get out of their homes. Organizations like TCCA has worked wonders in terms of supporting people in their own homes by sort of delivering food to them. People couldn't go out in fear of catching COVID, and they've been fantastic. And Erim is watching at the moment, so I'm sure he'll be in touch with you too. Inspirational. Kaz is already involved, so Yansie and Tash. Yes. Yansie and Tash. Erim, please do contact these wonderful people and work together with them, because they've got so many projects. The TCCA and other Turkish Cypriot organizations, Kurdish and Turkish mainland organizations can work with Cypriot organizations. We haven't been, apart from TCCA and one or two others, other organizations have not been very good at reaching out and, working with other communities. So this is a wonderful opportunity.
But we have been actually reaching out to communities. So we had one of the events we had in December. We had an imam, we had a Sikh representative, we just saying to people, just come together in the space, share your experiences. We've reached globally as well because we need to learn some of the lessons. So apart from the Friday event thing that Tash and I involved in, where we've had representatives from 30 different countries support the projects that we do. But even here, whatever the faith group, we are saying hop on board because it takes a village and we are the village. We've got to support each other.
Yeah.
Definitely.
I think someone's puppy is hungry.
Sorry, no, it's the door. Whenever the door knocks, the dog goes crazy. So my husband's downstairs.
Okay.
He should be keeping him quiet, but clearly he's not.
he's not doing his job then.
Sorry, I was like trying
don't.
But I do want to say that, you know, when my mum and my nan did pass away, the TCCA were the only group to reach out and say, we're putting together a bereavement support group. I didn't get anything from my GP, even though me and my mum are registered at the same GP. I didn't get anything from anybody, you know, to say bereavement support. Here's a link for bereavement support. I bet, you know, you just want to hear it from someone. You know, the love and the support has been amazing, you know, from family and friends. But what you want is a way to deal with something, you know, and like, you know, your mum dying. So the TCCA there's such amazing people in there. And if Adam is watching, you know, thank you for all the support, because he pulled through more so than some of my family, you know, from Cyprus and stuff. Just the dedication and care. And I'm thinking, if he's given me and the team are giving me that much support, then gosh, like the people that they are actually supporting on a weekly basis must feel exactly the same, you know. So they're doing an amazing thing.
And I would also recommend you go to BAME Stream to get some additional support. And also the Majonzi Fund was launched last week. And with the Majonzi Fund, it's for individuals and community groups to apply for a small grant to hold memorials, because we know people haven't been allowed to. So you can apply. It's maximum of £500. It's better than a kick in the teeth to have a memorials. And there will also be a memorial wall, so you can put up a memory, a photo, a word, a poem, something.
We are planning a memorial wall at the TCCA. I don't know if that's public knowledge, but I've made it public knowledge now, because I wanted to do something in memory of my mum and my nan. They loved gardens. My mum was a very green-fingered lady. She could bring any plant back to life, my mum. And I wanted to do something in one of the derelict spots in Haringey, and just getting through to people is a nightmare. So the TCCA have kindly said that we can do something in memory for all the like Turkish Cypriots in our community who have lost their lives to COVID, because they've got a back garden space. So we're in the process of starting a conversation about that now, and might even look at that grant to help us out with plants and stuff. People can come and plant.
And we also have a growing project as well. So there you go. We might be able to give you the plants from our growing project. So there you go. Thanks for giving the information.
Well, Kaz can talk to Erim and they can approach you together for the Majonzi project. Yansie, the Majonzi project, can a few people get together and apply separately for the grant?
It's either an individual or a group.
Yeah, or a group as well. Okay.
Yes. Fantastic.
I think a lot of people will want to make use of that. I think, from tonight, I'm going to make sure that they know about the Majonzi project. And I will encourage people to apply for that. And Erim and TCCA will definitely help with that project, with the process. So we've come to the end of the
BAME Stream young people as well. We start at age 18 now. So anyone 18 and over, please encourage them to have those 3 free support sessions.
Well,
I mean, Ertanc, you've been there. You know they help.
I will
Yeah,
put it on my charity
definitely.
social pages as well. So I'll
Please.
message you later and we can get all the details and a little poster or something and put it up for people in the cancer community as well, because I know there's quite a lot of my friends online who have experienced a COVID death as well.
Good.
Yeah. Right. We've come to the end of the program. I've been privileged being among the 3 very inspirational women. So, but unfortunately, we've come to the end. And before we finish, let's have just 1 or 2 minutes each to say your last words, last few words, and then we'll close. But this is not going to be the end. We'll contact each other in the future and perhaps repeat this down the line. Yansie, what's your last couple of words?
I mean, thank you for having me. But my last couple of words is, if you or anyone you know struggling to cope with grief, loss, or bereavement, please don't do it alone. Reach out to BAMEstream, www.bamestream.org.uk. Please do reach out.
Tash?
Well, I'd like to say thank you for inviting me. It's been lovely to hear what's going on in your community and how, you know, what initiatives you have and how as communities we can work together to get through this. Like Yansie said all the way through, it takes the village. So we need to get that village mentality and keep things running. So it's been an absolute pleasure talking to you, Kaz. Lovely to meet you. Hope to be able to talk to you again. And thank you very much for the invite. Look forward to seeing you again, guys.
Thanks very much. Kaz, before I neglected reading the messages. There are quite a few messages for you saying how inspirational you are, what I said in the beginning. And a lot of people sending you their loves and support. It was Erim saying something. He's definitely watching. So a lot of messages of love and support.
That's lovely. Thank you, guys, and thank you for having me as well. It's always difficult to talk about loss, isn't it? And it's not the nicest subject, but I love talking about my mum and I love talking about my nan. So, you know, any opportunity to talk about people who have left us is a blessing, because often people shy away from talking about the ones that we have lost out of fear of getting upset and stuff. But we want to feel that. We want to talk about them. We want to keep them alive because they haven't really left us. You know, none of them have. And I know my mum and my nan will be proud for keeping their memories alive. And if anyone wants to get in touch with me for any support about cancer, if you're worried about, I don't know, anything, if you want to learn how to check your boobs, you need some advice, or your worries or concerns, get in touch with me. And there's a whole host of things that I can support you with as well. So thank you.
Thanks. Thank you, Kaz. Thank you all. And as I said, this is not the end. We'll meet again, not in a so distant future. So thanks, everyone. And thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Guys.